Content warning. On this podcast, we discuss sensitive issues, including but not limited to swearing, tasteless jokes, mentions of drug use, and situations of a sexual nature. This podcast is not intended for children.
It's
Welcome.
apparently spooky season.
Welcome to our bonus for Halloween. That is what this is, right, BamBam?
Yeah, probably.
We did agree we're doing a Halloween
Yeah.
bonus, which is why we moved and looked at No Sleep Podcast, one of the best podcasts out there.
This is another suggestion from Bugs.
And brought to us by Hey. Because he was like, oh yeah, this is the other one you should pick.
It is called My Anime Pillow.
And so you listen to it and you're going to tell us all about it.
Unfortunately. Tell you about this love story? ?
Definitely a love story.
I guess.
Tragic love. Tragic.
Yeah, it's definitely tragic.
So please enjoy our foray and our bonus episode into the No Sleep Podcast. Worst stories.
So this one's by Holly Dionis. I think it's Holly Dionis. Pretty sure it's how it's
I don't know.
Anyway, so it follows a young boy whose name I did not bother to write down.
Oh my God, BamBam. We're professionals.
It doesn't matter. It never comes up.
And he's not like a kid. He's like what, 13, 14? He's early teens.
The text specifically says that he is between 15 and 18.
So a teen. Okay.
Right. I thought that was weird because, it's him telling the story, and he himself says he was between 15 and 18.
Okay.
Like, he doesn't know how old he was, which is confusing to me.
Well, wasn't he telling this story like, oh, this thing happened when I was a kid?
Yeah.
Or is it a recent thing to him? I don't remember.
It doesn't specify, just some nebulous amount of time in the future. It just seems like this is kind of a big event, and you would probably remember about what age you were. I would think. So he's very depressed and watches anime a lot.
Right. Sad anime kid.
Very sad anime kid.
Yeah.
No one understands him. His parents don't like or respect him.
Right. I mean, stinky teenage boys are very hard to like and respect.
Yep. Just stays in his room and watches harem anime.
Yep.
And he has a particular obsession with a character in some show named Annie Kawa.
Right.
Who is his role model / love interest / porn.
Yeah.
Yep. And he goes on like a lot of forums about the character, and the narrator pronounces waifu as waifu, and I thought that was very funny.
That is funny.
And his brother is like your average high school jock D-bag that...
Right. And that's his older brother.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And he's voiced by Atticus Jackson.
I love Atticus Jackson.
I'm fine with him in this one.
He is so good at being a bro jock Chad.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say for this, because that's exactly who he is in this. Because anytime he tries to play anything besides just that kind of bro-y dude, I don't buy it.
Yeah. It's like Peter Lewis playing anything but creepy old man. I'm like, wait, no, go back to creepy old man. That is your specific talent.
So he goes online and he finds a body pillow of this Annie Kawa character, and she's like nude on the pillow.
Right.
Yep. And
not quite sex doll, but
yeah,
as close as he can get
might
it.
as well be.
Right.
Yeah.
for his purposes.
Hmm. He initially can't afford it, but he finds one shipped from Australia, like on Wish or something, for like
Right.
$30.
Yes, he
So
finds the discount one.
buys it, and just so happens that the pillow is going to arrive the same week that his parents are on vacation.
Right, so he can have lots of alone time
Right,
with
and
his
his
pillow.
parents don't get to see him bringing in his fuck pillow.
And, like, his older brother is there to basically babysit him, right?
Yeah, kinda. Well, that's pretty much his place in this. But he only shows up like once,
Mhm.
like throughout the entire story. He shows up once to be like, uh, "Hey, bro, you gonna go up in your room and masturbate?" And and then he just leaves, and then he dies.
Spoilers.
uh,
Oh, wait, his brother dies?
yeah,
Oh, so it's him who loses.
don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to it. So he gets the pillow up to his room and he's like automatically infatuated with this pillow. Like right away starts referring to the pillow as she, like the pillow feels things.
Yeah,
And it's already kind of weird. So he like goes shopping and like preps up for like a really romantic night.
yeah,
And at one point he says like I couldn't wait to try her out,
yeah.
which I know it's literally an object, but it
You
still
still
feels
feel
like he's
gross.
objectifying too much.
Which I felt was actually really accurate to how a kid in this situation with
Yeah.
these lack of experience or appropriate
Hmm.
avenues for
Well, I think in real life, like that level of empathy for an object is just, it's kind of just your mind practicing to eventually be in that kind of relationship, maybe.
right. Like with little girls, you're allowed to play with toys and dolls, and then you
Yeah.
make them kiss each other and they get married. Little boys aren't quite given that same permission
Hmm.
to act out those
Yeah.
behaviors. And then it's seen as gross and yucky
Sad.
because it's not, oh, it's their wedding day, it's the wedding night. And
Hmm.
that's the fantasy that's going through his head.
Yeah. So he comes back home and he is lusting after this pillow. He has some time with his pillow and watches anime, and in the middle of the night, he feels what he presumes to be a heartbeat in his pillow.
Right. Like it's coming to life for him.
Hmm. Yeah, and he immediately like dives right into that. He's like, "Oh, clearly this pillow is becoming a person because of my love
Right.
and my various fluids."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, no, not to spoil the ending, but I felt like was kind of scary. Like, oh, wait, did he really feel that? Is he going insane? Wait, what happened? You
Yeah,
know,
that
like
was
in
my
the
initial
middle of
thought
it.
was, yeah, he's like having some kind of break right now.
Yes.
So he becomes increasingly convinced that his pillow is alive, and the more love it receives, the more real it will be. And he even does some Googling about it, and he just gets more weird forums. And he's starting to feel conflicted about developing feelings about the pillow he's been humping. And then he has a horny dream about the pillow, notices the pillow is fraying when he wakes up, and then he is conflicted about stapling it back together because he's afraid that it's going to come to life and have staples in it.
Right.
It's just weird, man.
His fantasies conflicting with what his eyeballs can see.
At this point, he is pretty well convinced that his pillow is a real girl and really wants pizza. So he tries to break into his brother's room, who's been gone for like 2 days at this point.
Right. Because it wasn't he supposed to be there to watch his brother.
Yeah.
And he was like, see ya, sucker. And he
hmm
like takes off. He's like
Right. He
going
goes
off
off to
to,
like party with some friends, and the narrating person.
the kid.
Yeah, the kids really should have looked up his
You should
name.
have. You should have listened to paid attention to
I
his
listened to
name.
it twice.
Well,
It's
if
fine.
it's first person narrative, it's possible he didn't say his name.
Yeah, it's possible.
That does happen in those stories sometimes.
I don't know why I wrote down the name of the pillow. I wrote down Anikawa
Well,
because
he references her a lot,
yeah,
though.
which I guess it makes sense that he'd never like the brother doesn't even say his name. So maybe it doesn't come up. Anyway, so he can't find his brother or get any of the money that the parents left. So he just dips into his own savings and orders a pizza and starts eating the pizza and like pantomimes feeding the pillow some pizza and he gets sauce on it and this really just gets him riled up.
He gets so upset.
Well, he gets upset initially because of the pizza sauce on the pillow, but this
Mhm.
also gets him excited. So the the way it explains it, it makes it sounds like he's finger banging his pillow.
Right?
It really bothers me. Like just because the pillow can't say no does not imply consent to me.
It's just an object, Bam Bam. It's
No,
okay.
but it still bothers me.
It's okay.
He thinks it's real. That's what matters. Uh, so eventually he pokes a hole in the pillow and he starts like tearing it apart because he can't wait anymore for his real pillow to come to life.
He thinks that a person's body is on the inside of it, ready to be born,
Yep.
basically, like Neo coming out of the slime bag.
Hmm. And it has a black beating heart that explodes into little tiny baby spiders.
And that's when you realize, oh, he felt a pulse in the
He
pillow.
felt a throbbing nest of spiders.
And then to bring us back to the beginning, this pillow came from Australia.
Hmm. Yep, and that's important. So then he gets bitten by the mother spider.
Isn't she like huge or something?
Yeah, honestly I don't know how big a Sydney funnel web spider is.
I don't know either.
I'm imagining something like fist size.
Producer, look it up.
So anyway, he gets bit like twice by the spider. So he runs out of his room and like the venom is going through his body and he starts going numb while he's going down the stairs. And so
Right, like trying to run away.
and he falls down the steps and breaks his back.
As large as the palm of your hand with
Hmm.
its legs stretched out.
Yeah.
So not that big. But I guess are they venomous? Are they
Yeah, they're
definitely
pretty venomous. Venomous.
venomous?
Venomous.
The poisonous. Make everyone so mad. Yeah,
Actually,
highly toxic for humans and other primates.
yeah, that was a weird thing to me
So
because me and Lily talked about this. Their venom is specifically dangerous for primates,
yeah, no
even
other
though they're from
mammals.
Australia and
Yeah.
primates aren't endemic to the area unless you like later on the Aboriginal
Mm-hmm.
peoples, but prior to that, no primates.
That's that's wild.
Hmm.
That's really
It's
wild.
real weird. So he wakes up in the hospital and finds out that it was a Sydney funnel web spider and that
Right.
his brother at the time that he got bit had already been dead for 2 days in his room.
Which I don't understand that because I thought they were still in the
But the fray was like at the top corner, so that's how the mother
oh,
spider was going out.
and escaped.
Because I think the way the story
Gotcha.
told it, the nest, the little baby spiders were already hatched. They were just staying in the nest. So I don't know if that is actually a thing that Sydney funnel web spiders do, go out and actually mother their offspring, but
Right.
maybe.
It's just funny because you imagine this person doing all this research on these spiders and how they care for their young, but doesn't name his main character.
I mean,
That would be
honestly,
funny. I don't know if
yeah.
that's what happened, but that'd be funny.
Uh, so anyway, he wakes up in the hospital, broken back, legs amputated, lost fingers, and dead brother.
Right, because he fell down the stairs and his parents didn't come home till a few days later.
I think it was like, yeah, it was another day. So he like went like 24 hours before anyone found him.
Right.
So like all his limbs were pretty much just rotted at that point, and the house was just covered in spiders.
Oh my goodness.
So his parents, instead of passively disliking him, now actively hate him and blame him for the death of their other son.
Right.
Which, that's pretty terrible. Like, the kid's weird, but it's not his fault.
He didn't actively choose to bring spiders into his house.
But despite his parents hating him, he still watches anime, and he still feels a connection with the spiders because he humped a nest of spiders for a few days. I think at the end he says, like, I can still feel them at night, and I'm like, ugh. I wish you wouldn't.
That's like the burn the house down meme.
Oh. But yeah, that's my anime body pillow. It's it's
what
funny
do you rate it?
at best. Yeah, I'm satisfied with that one.
Not the worst, because the worst is coming up next. But first, do you know who will send you a pillow full of spiders?
My cousin, after he went to Iraq.
Ugh.
He's real messed up now.
Yeah, that took a different turn. No, these ads.
Okay, that's better.
Hello, Biblio freaks, geeks, and lovers. Bugs here with a couple of notes. We have a Patreon where every month we focus on a bad book, bad movie combo. Please leave comments and suggestions on our Facebook page or email us at bibliowrecks@gmail.com. That's spelled BIBLIOWRECKS@gmail.com. We are on all the socials at bibliowrecks. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you are enjoying these bad books as much as we are.
Hey everyone, Editing Bam here. We initially didn't know what we were going to do with this part of the recording, so initially we just treated it like its own episode. So that's what's going on. This is a separate No Sleep podcast story that we're doing here. So just in case you got confused, I wanted to let you know. But enjoy. It's really funny, I think. I still can't.
You got the giggles.
Yeah, I always get my thing to start. Welcome to bibliowrecks, where we want to kill ourselves.
Oh my god, that's not how we start that. Welcome to bibliowrecks, fellow biblio freaks, geeks, and lovers. I'm Bugs.
And I'm BamBam, and I want to kill myself.
I told you that was the worst story I've ever heard on No Sleep.
It's pretty bad. So we're gonna do a little something different this week, there, listeners. Bugs suggested a story on a podcast that we both listen to, the No Sleep podcast, which is usually pretty high quality, pretty decent quality.
I've loved a lot of their stories.
Yeah. So we're not hating on them or anything.
Oh no. No, I love that podcast.
This one is traumatically bad.
This one is so bad. I could remember the name of it all these years later. And I haven't heard it in years, but you were talking about doing maybe a short story or a story from a podcast. And I said, I wrote it down and said, listen to this one. And don't murder me in my sleep tonight, please.
We'll see. So the name of the story.
Oh, wait. Content warning for extreme body horror.
Yeah.
Like, this is beyond our normal regular warning. This is bad. If body horror or torture, captivity, those kind of things bother you, please skip this one because it is traumatic.
Yep, it's pretty unsettling. So the name of the story is The Pancake Family.
Yep.
We'll just let everybody try to absorb that. And it begins with the retired detective Hobson Millgate, who is, at the start of the story, clearly very traumatized and under arrest.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
He's the one telling the story, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I had forgotten how you came into how you were presented the story at the beginning.
Mhm.
That's right.
Yeah, like, he's just over and over again, like, telling the guy that's interviewing him, like, how
Mhm.
just sick to his stomach he is of this entire situation, and that he mentions over and over again that he wishes the guy was a serial killer.
Right. Doesn't he, like, throw up, like, several times?
Uh,
Or almost does?
yeah, he, like, feigns it a couple of times, but only pukes, like, once during the actual
Right.
recording. But that feels like that's what a lot of the episode was just him getting sick and mentioning how upset he was.
Mhm. Do you remember who the voice actor was? I can't remember.
No, because I couldn't find it on uh Spotify
Oh, okay.
because I looked it up and I think that was like maybe a patron episode or something like that.
It was season 8, episode 1,
Hmm.
but depending on what, podcast host you use
Hmm.
or whatever, sometimes it'll have different show notes.
Yeah.
So I don't remember who voiced it,
Hmm.
but they're in what, season 16 now?
I think they're in like season 19.
Yeah, like, this was a long time ago, so it's possible
Yeah, it doesn't
the
really reflect
voice
on them.
actors have changed.
Mhm. So I'll spare all the stopping and
Vomiting, yeah.
yeah, and vomiting and
Yeah.
stuff. Uh, so as he's recounting his story to the interviewer, he starts off by talking about the reporter Stacy Bamer, which is a weird name. I hate the name Bamer.
Huh, okay.
Yep. She contacts the old retired detective, main character here,
Protagonist.
yeah,
Yeah.
Hobson Millgate, contacts him about an old cold case, the disappearance of a family of 6,
Yeah.
and that she's holding an alleged confession from the potential culprit.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Was that detective on the original case?
Yeah. Uh, I think, yeah, he's like older, like in his 60s, and
Mhm.
the original case was 20 years before.
Yeah.
Mhm. There wasn't any evidence that they found in the original case. The family was totally normal. They couldn't find like any leads to anything really sustainable for a case, and just went cold.
They just, like, disappeared, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, uh, everybody in the family seemed like they had just been pulled out of their bed, but the one of the little girls, or one of the sisters or daughters or whatever, uh, actually put up a struggle. And I think the order of events was he put them all to sleep with CO2 or something like that.
Right.
And she was the only one that it didn't totally take. So she was the only one that fought back.
Yeah.
Mhm. But yeah, they were all abducted. Yeah. And at this point, he just keeps mentioning that he wishes the culprit was a murderer. And that's just a central theme. Really wants to hammer home. So yeah, the case went cold and there were no leads anywhere at all until 20 years after the case had already went cold. Miss Bamer had done a recent article on the case and received the letter from the alleged confessor.
Yeah.
And she had also gotten in contact with the detective to get his take on the old case, stuff like that. And that's when she got the uh, confession. So he goes back and reviews in his mind a couple of random leads during the case originally, dealing with some menus that had been cut out, like all the important information for deciding where it came from and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and just uh, circling like a stack of pancakes
Oh,
and like just
no.
letters that say breakfast wasn't quite ready yet and stuff like that. So it just seems like some wacko just sent them a weird letter.
More random hints versus an actual, like,
Yeah. Like,
this is something that really, here's details or
mm,
anything.
like why else bring something random like that up unless it actually had some bearing on the story later on?
Yeah.
Mm. So the reporter, Bamer, she is actually the one that tracks down the address from where the confession came from. And it's like an old abandoned metal shop.
Mhm.
And she did this using city records, is what she said. But the detective had nothing to do with actually finding the address and stuff like that. So he had no idea how to figure all this stuff out.
Mhm. Doesn't she say she'll meet him there or something?
Yeah, she meets him there against his will. Like she doesn't want him or he doesn't want her there at all. But she
Yeah.
comes anyway and he's too old to stop her, I guess. But yeah, as they start poking around, he smells a corpse. Like I guess he's been around enough corpses as a former police officer to know
Yeah,
that
he, like,
smell.
smells dead body.
Yeah, which is a weird thing considering later on. Uh,
Maybe not. We'll discuss that in a minute.
yeah. So Bamer refuses to leave. They start poking around the facility, and that's when he hears a gasp. Uh, and he finds amongst a bunch of like hydraulic presses uh, for like 4x8 sheets, he finds a stack of flattened dead people.
Not dead. That would be better.
And the stack is 2 feet thick
Yep.
because there are six of them and they're all 2 inches thick. He really put in the math there. Like he specifically says it's 2 feet thick. Uh, so he goes on to say that they were flattened by a 1/4 inch every year for 20 years
Under hydraulic
under
presses.
hydraulic presses.
Their bodies, the
Hmm.
people that had been kidnapped
Yeah,
20 years before, were being squished under a hydraulic. Because you're not exactly telling the poor
I
listeners.
know. I just can't stop thinking about how stupid a way to torture people this is.
It real and there's no payoff really. Like it's so stupid. So yeah, the mastermind
Mm,
sicko.
yeah. So, yeah, he goes into how horrific they all look, and it seems like surgery was done on like their heads to keep their skulls from like penetrating their brain
Right.
just to keep them alive.
And weren't they like on breathing tubes and feeding tubes and stuff
Hmm.
like that?
Yeah. Well, he comes in and he assumes they're all dead. And he's like thankful they're all dead.
Yeah.
And he's like in the shocked moment and he in like a weird panic moment, he presses a button to turn on the air pump that breathes the bodies. And I don't know how the bodies were alive in any capacity before this.
Right.
If they
It's
weren't,
it's absurd and impossible.
yeah. So
Yeah.
they weren't breathing up until that point. But he turns that on, and then they all just start screaming. And the one on the top of the stack, because the rest of them can't talk because they're all covered up by another pancake person. So the one on top is the oldest son of the family, a boy named Avery. Oh gosh. Yeah, he just starts immediately like begging for death. And the detective is like trying to calm them down, but they seemingly can't hear him. Uh until Bamer shows up and she's just like, "Oh, that's all of them, isn't it?" And apparently, none of the family knew that any of the rest of them were there.
Yeah.
Because Avery is just like, "Please kill me and don't tell my family."
what happened
what
to me.
happened, not knowing
They
that he
each
was.
thought they were isolated for 20 years. They didn't
Yeah,
know the other ones got caught as well.
yeah. So they're all suddenly a much sadder stack of pancakes. And then the detective just shoots them all with one bullet, like, because they're in a stack. And he mentions that. He's like, I guess one bullet would have done it, but I went ahead and shot all my bullets.
And listeners, the entire time he's telling the story, he's like, hold on.
Oh yeah, and like asking for like a sedative from the
Yeah,
paramedics and
like,
stuff.
can I have a pill yet? Can you give me that shot yet? No, you have to finish your story. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the acting is done really well. That's why I was trying to
Yeah.
remember if it was Peter Lewis who did
Mm,
it or not.
okay.
But I honestly don't remember which
Yeah.
voice actor it was.
The one I had to listen to is on YouTube. So, but anyway, so he's just like, that's the end of the story. Can I get doped up now to forget all my pain about these pancake people?
Since you listened to it recently,
Hmm.
was it that they'd been on hydraulic presses separately and then stacked on top of each other for this moment?
Yeah, it seems like it because at the
Okay.
end, so he's asking for the sedative, and he asks about Stacy Bamer and says he was really worried about her because she
Mm-hmm.
didn't like react at all, and said that she might also need a sedative. And the detective that's interviewing says there is no Stacy Bamer that works at as a reporter at whatever the agency was. So presumably she was the killer and she set all this up just to fuck with this one detective that worked on this case 20 years ago to show him a stack of pancake people.
Or like she knew who had done it and wanted it to be shown off. Because she's not described as being very old, right?
No, yeah, it really doesn't clear that up at
It's
all. Which, I
ambiguous.
mean, he is in his 60s. So for someone to be in their 40s and
Yeah, could come across as, oh, I need to protect her because she's young.
yeah, so it may not uh, register that she's an older person. So I don't think it said really one way or the other. But yeah, what a heaping piece of shit. How fucking dare you?
when you when we came up with this idea and I said the worst stories the world has to offer, I meant it.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I don't even know what year that episode came out, but it has been several years and I
Hmm.
still remember. I mean, there's a few others where I'm like, oh, those were awful. Oh, those left me feeling bad. But that's the only one that truly shocked and horrified me.
Hmm. Yeah. Usually with horror, usually body horror is is the thing that usually gets me the most. Like the Evil Dead movies, those like really wig me the fuck out. But this was just so stupid. Like, why a stack
Mm-hmm.
of pancakes? Why?
It's like the author took that word, that phrase, the pancake family, and then had to desperate, like almost like a bet. Like, I'll bet you can't write horror story about the pancake family because that emotes like somebody who runs a diner and they are like, a cartoon pancake family dancing
Right.
around or something. Not this level of horror and just travesty.
Yeah. I mean, it was well written and well executed, I guess, but just the concept is so dumb. Like, number one, implausible. Like, it contrives itself to just be more ridiculously upsetting.
Yes.
Like, not only are they pancake people, but they're pancake people that thought they were alone for 20 years. And then they were pancake people that
Found
found
out.
out their entire
Mhm.
family were also pancake people.
And they got to deal with that horror and then be murdered.
Yeah.
nothing redemptive. There's nothing at all redemptive in the story. And that is usually what makes me mad about a story is there's no hope at the ending. There's no redemption. There's no even, oh, this could have gone a different way if someone had done something else. You know, like there's no lesson or meaning or anything beyond we want to make you as sick as possible listening to this story.
Yeah, it was just needless body horror.
Yeah. And it's body horror from the get-go because he's sick. He's begging for a sedative. He's gasping that he wished this had been a mass murderer instead of...
That is a good hook, though.
It was. Yeah, for real.
Because the whole time he's just like, I wish he was a murderer. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Right, what could be worse than mass murdering a family?
And
like,
apparently
what's a serial
it's
killer?
making a family into pancakes.
Yeah.
Because who the fuck would think of that? Oh, gosh. Well...
You know what won't turn you into a pancake, Bam Bam?
My local news reporter. That doesn't actually work at a journalism place.
These ads.
Sorry, Bugs. No ads here today. But you do get a personal thank you from me, Editing Bam. Have a happy Halloween. We thought a nice little bonus episode would be good. And just thanks for sticking with us while we're figuring all this out. We really appreciate it. And if you want to support us, go visit our Patreon or just like and subscribe. That whole thing. It does a lot for us. Mostly our egos. So thanks. We love you. Probably.